Thanks, Dorothy. Yes, we're recording.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 2026-2027 budget session. July 28th, 2026, 6 p.m. Call this session to order. Please stand and join me for the pledge.
For allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For call for the open comment. All righty, so we're going to move on to special presentation. By Dr. Smith, comment.
All right, thank you, Mayor. I do want to say this is a pleasure since I spent all day at the TDC. We talked about hundreds of millions of dollars on what can be spent on for tourism, and then focusing on exactly what people need. It's a big change of scenery for me. I do want to thank Tara and Teresa and back over there, your clients.
Yes.
Every year from March until September, we're focusing on budget. We're making sure that we meet all the statutory guidelines, and we're making sure that we answer all the questions, and making sure that we're spending the public's money in the most effective manner. I think we're doing that with this proposed budget. So let's get started. First thing is we always, the mission is to preserve the high level of service and quality of life the town residents are and customers expected, and ensuring the town's long-term financial sustainability and fiscal responsibility. How do we get there? Use conservative revenue estimates, control spending, long-term planning, pursue state and federal appropriations, seek federal and other grant opportunities, prepare for future legislative actions and referendums. And so the guiding principles that we pretty much live and breathe by: maintain excellent public service, protect the town's financial health, invest strategically in infrastructure and community needs, minimize the burden on taxpayers whenever possible, and position the town for future opportunities through sound financial planning. Here is from 2008 all the way until 2026-27 of what the millage rate was and is. You can see from 2018 that has remained the same. We have not increased the millage rate. The reason went from 3.7896 and 3.25 is we took out fire. The fire increased, and then we went to 3.7425 because we had to start investing in infrastructure. So we invested in potable water, parks and recreation, roads, and sidewalks. And we have been doing that since 2018. Here's a comparison between us and other municipalities in Orange County. And Itapopka is looking at a 0.75 increase to their millage rate. They're currently at 4.43. You can see that as two ways. One, we're preparing for the possibility of when the three passing. You can see they still have a lot of deficits that they need to pay for the past projects and paying off their debt service. When I talked to not Orange County, but I talked to Windermere and Bowie, they're going to be recommending that their millage rate stay the same. I know that Windermere just increased some of the commercial taxes by about 5%. So our 2026 estimated taxable value, it's not a huge increase like we saw last year. And the reason for that is that we saw the increase last year because the annexation jumped a lot. But we're at 1.29 this year, and then last year we're at 1.263. So we saw an increase of about $33 million. If I had a graph to show you how the property values increased, you'd get mixed. But that's not because we are trying to appraise, no, it's because we're just, annexations, developments, redevelopments. So that's why we see the increase. Tonight's recommendation from staff is to maintain our existing millage rate at 3.7425. That would generate $4,609,594. That would be seen as a tax increase. The reason why is because your appraised values go up. But we're still maintaining the millage rate at the same rate that we've always had been since 2018. If you were to go to the rollback rate, you'd be looking at 3.5893. That would generate the same amount of ad valorem that you received last year, which you can see is about close to about $200,000 less than we received last year in ad valorem. The maximum we'll go up to is 3.9482, which we're going to support 0.82 million or 8 million, which would be about $200,000 more than we're anticipating this fiscal year. But the recommendation is just to keep it at 3.725 in this fiscal year.
Barbara, do you want us to say the questions till the end, or do you want to answer?
You can ask them at any time.
So the taxable value of the previous slide, I assume that's gross. That's gross taxable value of,
Minus homestead exemptions.
so it's exclusive of homestead exemptions.
Yes, so that's taxable value.
Have we done the analysis on what that would be with the amendment passes?
Yes, sir.
What is that?
Looking at about $350,000 in the first year, and about $650,000 the second. We have about 41% of our homes, which is about 900, have the homestead exemption. And so what we did was we did calculations, if you were to add that, it's really you're getting $100,000 for this year, or next year. That hit would be about 300,000, and then with 250, with 41% of the homesteaded properties that we have in town Windermere, which is 900 homes, you're looking at about 650, 670.
Decrease in that for
Decrease in average home taxes.
the, what is the taxable value that's in there?
It's good. I don't know until I get the property appraiser versus estimates. That could increase, which again, we can bridge that gap. But until we have that number, we just don't.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. And also remember, the ballot doesn't include a state. The intent of the ballot was to eliminate property taxes for all homestead properties. And it's hard to tell too, the way that it's structured. If I live here and I sold my home to somebody just in Richmond, they don't get that poor bill. They just start paying you to get 50,000 that they're projected, but they're not going to get the 150. So, but all we do is just base our numbers on what's happening today, and then see what our impacts may be in the future. But I don't know the assessed values.
Thank you.
So again, the estimated revenues for various factors that may impact the numerous revenue sources from some of you here, as we always do. We've been very conservative. We typically use the past to predict the future where appropriate. When you look at other municipalities, they issue the CPI. Everything's going to continue to increase, but as you've seen in the past, cars become more gas efficient, so gas tax is going down. At one point, communication services were going down as well, but now with bundling and internet, that is continuously increasing. The problem is that lobbyists keep coming out of that fund as well, to either maintain it or to diminish it. The Department of Revenue, their estimates, unfortunately, they don't come out until late August, September. But I think we've had a good track record of either mirroring or being just under what they project. And again, when I come back to you in April of next year, I don't want to say, hey, we were wrong by 100,000, 50,000. I'd rather be wrong by 10,000. And I think we've shown it over the past 18. Arbor funds, we committed those for the end of this fiscal year. We had to be sure that they were committed by December 31st of 2026. And then the federal appropriations, that is still intact, and we are seeing those monies coming in. And that was the Safe Routes to School program that Congressman Evans allocated to us, another 760,000. You can tell how long ago that was. First, we allocated that money. Building services, the revenues allocated based on the age split. We get paid as 20. Out of the 100, yes, 20 to be made. General funds from revenues. Require little match for HMG grants. And from the remaining balance of existing projects. We don't receive a lot of stormwater, if you guys have seen that in the revenue projections, it's about $370,000. But that has somewhat been accumulated, because we really haven't tapped into that resource yet. But we're starting to use that, because again, our cash flow is getting lower and lower and lower, still waiting to use appropriations. State appropriations, the outstanding balance due from the state are reflected for various projects. But due to the current cash flow, staff is evaluating projects with existing revenue balances, those appropriations to identify potential reductions, deferrals, or other cost saving measures. You just do that in the next slide when I talk about the expenditures. I can go over amendment 3, but everybody, I think we're all well versed in that and what the financial impacts will be. I can tell you with confidence, we will be okay. If it does pass, we will be over. We're gonna have to button it up a little bit. But if the property appraisals still go up, it'll take us probably about 3 or 4 years to get us back to where we're at right. And that's just a projection on mine. But know that if this does pass, it'll take that amount of time for us to start looking into the future, town hall, military services, parks and recreation. It's gonna take us time to recoup that and start talking about other stuff. And the good thing is that we're small. We don't have these huge budgets, we don't have these huge departments. We have probably a total of 28 to 30 employees, most of them are, we have some reserves, crossing guards, but the majority of staff is seized right. So it's good being small, and make sure that being small is not going to be a detriment to the public tax, or the public product. You can see for the 10% to 5% business rental cap, regard would have 5%. So next year, if we're to pass and then 3, you'd be looking at 50 going to 150. The year after that, going to 250. The year after that, we don't know. It depends on if that's still going to be a metric that the new government wants, or if the 250 is with them. Attached. These are things I think we've already talked about. The property tax revenue limitations, the property includes provisions intended to limit the use of property tax revenues on local government support government functions, such as public safety, infrastructure, and essential municipal operations, fire, police, infrastructure projects. But when it comes to the day-to-day operations, that's not really defined in this ballot measure or in the bill, which is kind of crazy, because who has to administer that's that? But we can't really touch police, we can't touch fire, and in infrastructure projects, that's usually where you can gain that money, because you can put off some of those projects in CIP. If it's not necessary, it's just want to. Example of the wastewater system, something. One can't afford it, 2, we could, we had to push that back until our cash flow comes back, until we know what's going to happen with the money. Financial planning, the town may be able to evaluate consumer revenue sources, just capital improvement schedules, or identify operational efficiencies to address the evolution revenue impacts. So the next meeting that we have, what I have to do before January 1st, is to provide you with a 10% cut. Just provide it to you. That's not saying we're doing it. But in this budget, we're reflecting as much as we can for the time being. But depending on what happens on November 3rd, we're still going to present you with 10% cost number. Now, so you have to adopt it, let's have to present it, so it's a focus item. And then, of course, any litigation. The proposed amendment is currently the subject of legal challenges regarding the ballot title and summary. The outcome of those proceedings we'll see hopefully before November. When you look at the title, when you look at the language, pretty much saying you like blue skies and butterflies, you'll pass this. And that's where the educational piece comes in, which we're working with West Orange County, and we'll be working with Orange County, getting the educational piece out. I know you've seen probably a lot of. Media on it. The intent and the purpose is not to get it out too early. Because if you do it now, you can maybe forget about it in October. October 13th is when people start getting that. Our intent is to start hammering September 1st on giving residents the facts. By September 1st is when we all know what our potential budget is going to be. So, but still, every time we do discussion, a workshop, meeting, I bring this up and let everybody know what the actually, it's not in full. Based on the current ballot language, it's not in full tone. But we are gonna have to make some cuts and we have to live within our means for quite some time without doing infrastructure projects. So the staff recommendation and withdrawal revenues, the second, would be giving the uncertainty surrounding the proposal. Staff recommends continue monitoring the amendment. Its fiscal impact analysis and any related decisions. Should the amendment be approved, staff will evaluate its effects on the town's long-term financial plan and provide recommendations to the future budget development cycles. When I say future development cycles, that includes the budget. Now remember, your budget is a living, breathing document. It can be amended, it can be changed. The only thing that can't change is the military. That happens again in September meetings. And at this meeting right now, if you would adopt 3.7425, you can't go higher, you won't go lower. But that would stay. But as far as us moving funds from one project to another, one department to another, that fluctuates. And that's why I always do a budget amendment, typically in October, November. Because again, things that we anticipated were going to happen may not happen. Things that we didn't anticipate happening cost more, so we had to figure out a place where we can bridge that gap between the parties. So before I get to the numbers in the all right, so some of the expenditure highlights, fire service agreement, not really highlighted. Last year was about 875,000. This is going to go up to 1.1 million. A good thing is that our assessment is over 1.1 million. So we're going to be able to pay for that. I talked to Craig Shadders today. He said the letter is on its way. Because I need to know what the acceleration point may be on that. To see if we have to readdress the fire system. But I think with the current way that it is set, it's based on property values. So again, if property values go up, we'll be able to absorb it. And again, we have some reserves in the expenditures that we hopefully cover that cost. So we're not looking next year on having to increase fire assessment. The water trail for this.
So that 1,100,000 is locked in only for FY 2026.
I know it's obviously a letter. Based on the conversation I have with them, because they're looking right now, OE has increased their fire service fees throughout for all the residents. We're looking at either the same percentage increase or just a set number. I was hoping for 1 million. It's to 1.1, but until I see that, and then we can get them to the contract that we currently have with them, I can't tell you if it's going to go up per CPI or certainly 1,000. Until I say the letter, I can't give you that.
Okay. But the reason I ask is because there's a lot of discussion within the fire community. They're going to change their shift numbers and 24 on 72 officers, 24 on 48 off they have now, which would, for all intents and purposes, would increase the entire shift firefighters. So that's why I'm asking whether that is these things follow that. So are we discussing any of that? You've heard of?
Yes, Billy, my garden, I believe Orange County just worked out their agreement with 33% increase in the pay for firefighters. As far as the 2472, I don't know if they agree to that. But yeah, that's been some rumblings and. Being a joke, it's the best part-time position you can ever get. You know, becoming a firefighter, being 24 on and 72 off, and still getting the same paycheck. But they're all unionized, and it depends on how that collective bargaining happens, but you know, when I know. Once one agrees, that all just goes down. So every other municipality, when they're not be handled with the same.
Is it going to new shop?
Yes. Police and fire. Same as Concord.
All right, thank you.
So. Town of Windermere Water Trail Phase 1, looking at that to be completed in fiscal year 26-27. As you know, that we're getting pretty close. We have the walkthrough, talked to John this morning, or this afternoon, on Monday, assuming we actually open up for the schools program. Once we do that, then we'll have a living bed. But looking at it completed in fiscal year 26-27. Let's say fiscal year 26-27, a lot of people think that's January 1st. I'm just saying this, the general public is going to be watching. Our fiscal year is October 1 to September 4th. So when they see, 26-27, they think it's gonna be like January and to December, but it's not. It's October to September 4th. West Second Avenue for the water system and the road and storm improvements that will be completed by hopefully the beginning of next year, if not earlier. CEQ investing in follow stormwater improvements. Windermere Road, Main Street intersection improvements. I believe that begins in December of this fiscal year, or next fiscal year, and it'll probably roll into next fiscal. They're still working on design, and again,
That's the roundabout.
that's around.
I thought that got full. Does it get full?
What's
The
that?
funding for that, did you?
No,
That's Chase.
Okay, Chase.
Yeah. Yeah, the ones that were detailed were chasing in the system, and that was just design.
Okay, it's not one, okay, I wasn't sure.
And then town, to our restrooms, and the reason I didn't put a date on this, is because with the ones that you see above there, those all have timelines based on the agreements that we've signed. There's no agreement that we signed for the town hall restrooms. So we can pause until our cash flow is good enough for us to go ahead and start construction. And the reason it's less than last year is because we've already allocated money for engineering, design, and architecture. So when the time is right, we'll be able to go ahead and spend these funds for the construction of restrooms. I just didn't want to make promise and say it's gonna happen next year, because who would have thought we would be in a situation right now with the delay in reimbursements on the road, probably 1.5, 1.6.
1.3 for West Second Avenue.
Yeah, 1.3, that's just for us.
But that's only what's been submitted, that's not
That's
invoicing no amount.
correct.
Correct,
Correct, that's one we're waiting for.
right, but we have a lot more in.
We do,
in the queue that needs to go out that we're sitting on.
yes,
That
we're,
we already paid out.
yes, we're preparing the next one now, and that they've agreed to let us submit it before we get the other one back, so we'll be hopefully getting that signed this week and sent over.
What's the date stamp on the, in your roundabout?
For economic completion,
Yeah, I mean, we have, no, for the grant, we have funds coming in for that. When's the
December
date on that?
31st, 2027 is when everything must be extended.
yeah, you can ask,
That needs to be completed
this needs to be completed,
to get the money.
well, to abide by the grant.
That's what.
I think that every one of these projects, you can ask for extension. 6 months, 8 months, as long as we have a valid reason for it, besides more money, we'd be able to go ahead and request them. So there may be some. Maybe go for what we're saying, I'll say on the project sites that we have to make. What's that mean? But yeah, no. The only one on this list that we really have control over is and understanding cash flow, which we went into, after I did the expenditures, that's something we should talk about. So here's some of the things that not only is it part of the 10% cut, but it's also some of the things that I think we may need to hold off on. Until we have a better understanding of what's gonna pass in November 3rd. And then what's gonna happen with our property values in 27, 28. And also just wait and see what our cash flow is gonna be doing for the next 6 months. Because remember, we're gonna be meeting another 6 months to talk about the budget. So these cuts that you see here can be included back into the budget, that's it. But it's, again, dependent upon cash flow and dependent upon what you want to do with the loan that we currently have. $2 million that's outstanding, and we're paying $60,000. So the following things I recommend that we just not continue with, instead we have that cash flow and we have those things in hand with the food truck nights. They really don't make any money. They make about $200 a week every single having those food truck nights. But that doesn't include sweat equity of staff, putting those events in. A lot of them, again, it's the food truck night, but it also includes the holiday lights that we put up. Remember last year we programmed $15,000, but it cost us $35,000. So it's those things that taxpayers look at and say, is this necessary, is this needed, or is it just something that you want? And that can be discussion the council can have with me, say, okay, listen, it's important, you just need to scale it down. We know what's gonna happen if you scale it down. We'll be paying for scaling it down, not doing what we did last year. The Easter event, that cost, I think it's like $3,000, $3,500 for the foundation. That's not the word. The big projects,
Just real quick, Rob.
yes, sir.
So those cuts are those making bids in the 350 if the taxes. I assume you were looking at the rest of the budget. See what the cuts will make that difference. Assuming there's going to be, I understand these that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not going to cover it.
Yeah,
But
it all adds up. You know, 3,000, 15,000, 6,000, it keeps adding up to meet that $300,000 point. Without again trying to diminish the level of service. I mean, quality of life is one thing, level of service is another. You know, quality of life would be again having those community events, having lights, you know, Halloween stuff, nice banners. Or the level of service would be, again, making sure your roads are probably, making sure the stormwater is working, making sure the police are out protecting everybody. So that's what we're trying to focus on right now. And here comes some of the hard part with the discussion that we're gonna have as far as what we're gonna go ahead and reel back. So we had an appropriation of 3.08 million in the state. Out of that, we spent majority of that on design for not only West Second Avenue, but East Liberty roadways. And we used that money to pay for the code door system of West Second Avenue. So we have $800,000 still that we can spend. Now, again, with our cash flow issue, just because you have something doesn't mean you have to spend it. You can give it back. And my recommendation is to go ahead and give that $800,000 back. Because the reimbursement rate that we're getting right now is 8 to 12 months. So if I were to spend the money, we'd be getting that hole even deeper. So just because we have it, doesn't mean we need to spend it. It hurts me to say that as far as we bought for it. But we're not in a position to spend that money. So anybody have any questions on that?
Is that one on the budget, the 800,000 that we're sitting on?
No, it's not. And the reason I took that out is because that's fun. So with West Second Avenue, this project will be open. That includes the central water case. Now, next one, which is the north water case design. We received only get over 602,000. But that was for the design of the water system for the north. And the same thing with the portable water system to the side. We're seeing these monies as appropriations, state appropriations that have to be spent for a certain amount of time. We don't have the money to fill it. And it means we tell you this, like, yeah, JJ staff is very hard to use these appropriations. But we never anticipated getting hit with all these projects at one time. And for the reimbursements to take this long. So the recommendation, which is they're not included in this budget, would be to just tell the state, keep it on this time, we can reapply it in the future. But we just don't have the money to spend, float, I would say float, because there's money that we're doing, but we just don't have that money with the cash flow issues that we have. And again, it's hard to say.
If that is a valid reason for requesting extension,
So,
that's a valid reason for requesting extension. to funds, right?
to the extent, we can request an extension of funds. Or are you talking about north and
Whatever name of it, I mean, if the state appropriation, you're talking about giving it back, is due to their inability to reimburse us for previous projects. That's the reason, I think it's playing pretty solidly on the state. But those
we can request it?
Yeah.
I mean, they have a certain timeframes that they can only extend to.
What are those? For the year?
No, it's usually 6 months. You know, but when you're saying it's a cash flow issue, that's what the, you know, cash flow, we could skip something like that. But we explore that, but at this time, I think it's prudent of council and the taxpayers to say, we'll explore that, but we're gonna keep it out of the budget. Because again, cash flow issues that are prudent. Again, this is no fault of the council. You know, who would have thought it would take this long for us to get repurposed? I don't think anybody would. But it has taken this long, both with government shutdowns and just the bureaucracy that we're dealing. But we're in a situation that we're in, and we have to make sure that we adjust, so we're not having to recently face, we're not having to take out additional funds. And then make sure our cash flow is stable. Parks and Recreation, their CIP program typically included $25,000. This is separate from P&L. The Parks and Recreation Committee, and then you have the CIP. So the $25,000 was something that was committed to in 2018, the increase in the military. But again, that's a cut, that's not a need, it's a want. And so what we're focusing on is the needs that we have for the time it's going to be here to get us through this thing. The arbitrations. Again, it's 5,000, it seems minimal, but again, it keeps adding up. I've already talked to Duke, they're willing to donate trees. Tree board might not like the trees they give them, but it's another cut that is again necessity rather than a want. I would love to give out trees every arbitrage. But the fact of the matter is, with the situation that we're in right now, with the uncertainty of November 3rd, and with, you know, cash flow issues. And if there's another resource that we can tap into that will do this for us, I think that's something that we can explore and something that we can town decorations, we already talked about, street and road repairs. Typically, we have 10,000 in there for repaving projects. We never really use it, so that's what I'm putting that. Sidewalk repair and construction, I reduced that from $100,000 to $20,000. The reason for that is we just locate and repair, not building new sidewalks. Number one, that gives us that 10%. Also, we're still making sure that our risk management is well by just repairing what we have. Signage reduced to 44,000, 5,000. The reason why we had 44,000 was for replacement of the signage to make sure that everything's uniform, look nice. Getting rid of the monument signs on the ground that keep us in line and reduce the liability. But the 5,000 we put in there is just for repair and maintenance, obviously, update something.
Robert, I got a quick question. So, going back to sidewalk repair. John, you maybe you can answer this. What do we pay per foot on a repair? So what does the 20,000 get us?
I would have to get back to you on that, but we piggyback Orange County's agreement for our sidewalk contractors. I'll have to go and look.
Does
But we
150 sound about right, $150 a foot,
probably,
so about 100 feet. That's all we're talking about on repairs, just to give everybody.
yeah,
And
and
20 grand looks like a lot. Comes to sidewalk, it's a drop in the bucket,
Typi-
so.
and
what did we
typically
spend
we use-
Last year, repairs.
typically we use all of the 80,000 to 100,000 he has in there.
Okay, just, yeah, just trying to keep it out there, because it looks like a big number, but it's actually really small.
The amounts that we spent in the past is removing and refurbishing pretty much long distance sidewalks.
Right.
It's not just pinpointing, on block A, sidewalk B, there's a tree root that's looking up. Cut it out, saw it down, replace it. I think this fiscal year, the money that we spent was pretty much on the manners.
I know that was a big one in the past, I mean, manners was huge.
Yes, we-
And,
Uh,
and the.
we did.
Right.
We did Sixth as well this year.
So it's identifying an issue, then bringing that issue.
Yes, sir.
But if I could say something to support the town manager, and that is, as he's noted, sometimes we'll have cost savings on certain things. So if I get to my 20,000, I need to come back and ask him to come back before you because we've identified some cost savings and we can do some sidewalk repairs. We'll bring that back to you and request to be able to do that.
And then for IT, the recommendation is to start replacing our hardware. But when I talked to you, I mentioned, we can hold off another 2 years. So replacing desktops, laptops, there's certain things that we do still need to pay for as far as the licensing, change Windows thing. But that's another area we can say, okay, listen, you can repair and replace one of these stuff. So if Teresa's computer goes out, we can replace it. That's not gonna get committed $50,000 to it. That would come out of this one of these. So before I get to council actions tonight, I can go for expenditures, department by department. Luncheons can be reduced, trying to reduce as much as we can, to make up that 10%, not only the 10%, but to the capital, as I said before, again, we address this in April. Special events. Using a huge drop from 24, 25, that's because of when you're one in them.
And centennial too.
And centennial.
Yeah.
So they just get that. But as I said, with the Easter event, foundation, look at that, I mean, that's supposed to be run by the police department anyway. And we donate the bikes, as far as buying the gates and stuff like that, I see that as a problem. With the biggest cost on that one, it's gonna be the holiday, they're at 15,000. Which they do raise funds and sponsorships, so I recommend that they continue to do that to make sure that this event, in lieu of not having lights and stuff like that, still is a way to celebrate the holidays. But they do raise funds and sponsorships for that. The employee appreciation. That's our holiday party for our staff. So I'm eliminating that. I know it's things, but there's hopefully other avenues that I can explore to create something with the employees of the commission. It doesn't replace the February award ceremony, but this does replace the holiday party that we've had in this. The lobbyists that did increase, but as you've seen, over the last year, with the appropriations there would get us. That is a problem budget. And if we're going to need lobbying when it comes to trying to get some of these extensions. And or if there's a project that we desperately need, and we advocate for it, but forward, we definitely still need them there. So I still recommend and continue with lobbying services. So the total is 67,574, and the reduction is 87.
Robert, so I have a question about the lobbies.
This week,
I'm all for the lobbies. And I think the contract is up in December, correct?
with the mic.
If their contract is up in December, correct?
There's something that end up the need for additional year.
The only thing I would like for the council to do is accomplishments. You know, a performance review, the performance-based sign. Or whatever is happening. I just want to see what's really happening. I know we had some appropriations in there, but they got hit. So I just want to see where the successes are and what we're getting for money.
I mean, the last success was the 1.2 million that we received last year's state appropriations. For the 60-something thousand that we paid them. But yeah, unfortunately, we were vetoed for, I would say, probably $1.5 million this. But yes, I'll be more happy to do it. Any questions on legislative? Here, all right, administrative. Reflecting the salaries is myself, Jennifer Street, or relation from Street. It's just putting it out there. And Lily, so that does project, and then for, the salaries. I checked with my garden, Bowie, and other jurisdictions, they are doing 3% increase salary. I know we're trying to pay your bills, stuff like that, but understand that they're having to do the same thing with the personal budgets and what's happening at home. So I think it's only fair to give them that 3% in order for them to continue.
Yep.
I'd pay more than that to train somebody new. I don't want to do that. Good, great team, and I think that 3% is well straight. Overtime reduced, because we're doing salary for Jennifer. FICA med, retirement is 10%, with E is 19%. Health insurance, we anticipate to be increased by 14%. Typically, we look at between the 12 and 16%, so we split it in the middle for the increase in healthcare. It could come up with people that need help. Unfortunately, we just can't dictate what's happening and health issues. But I think that 14% is going to be around the money, and I think we're close to it last year as well. Gap insurance did increase, talking about 8-9%, same with vision and dental. And so, and with every employee, we could have a 25,000 life accidental death policy. That's with every employee. In case something happens, you do have that 25,000 for planning. It could be legal fees. This is the big. It's an unknown. Hopefully we can get to negotiated settlement, take it into the litigation aspect of that right now. But I do believe that this will give us enough funds, since things seem to be vacant. Hearings have been cut off. To give us some time to hopefully come to some sort of agreement with it. Again, I can't get into the details, but it could be an executive session. And I don't want to get into the potential if the settlement is reached, what would that impact be, because we don't know what it is. But at this time, I do believe that 375 should be good
What have we spent year to date, right?
right now. Is,
Ray Robinson and Ships Miller.
well, Greg Robinson is pretty much their holding pattern. And so I have
Sorry, Bill.
a holding pattern.
I'm saying, what is the cost right now? What is the sum that we have spent for Ray Robinson and Schultz mowing right now?
It's probably at or above what the number on driving next year.
Okay, so we got 3 more months.
Yes.
So I just think this is a really low number. It's really low volume. But everything's gonna be on our plate this year.
Understood.
If we've already surpassed this number already, it's not even October, we have 3 more months.
Yeah.
And we're still getting billings, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how they're charged, but.
Here's-
Well, I
Yeah.
I know by the hour.
And
I'm just saying, I think this needs to be more realistic.
we had a lot of litigation last year. And those costs. That's the one thing, is we had hearing after hearing after hearing, motion after motion after motion. Within a big, that puts everything on hold. And that's why I think we're gonna be able to go forward to 325 next fiscal year. Not because everything's on hold. Not just because everything's on hold, but even trying not to get into the executive session here. But I believe whatever litigation's out there right now would be abated as well. And so again, abatement leads with a positive. We all come together, collect our thoughts, figure out what strategies we're gonna use, stuff like that. But the reason that we were so high this year, again, was because of all the litigation that we had to do. And then also the litigation, which again, state this, the intent is friendly, it's not adversary. We're trying to get the answer by the money or the town money to this. So that's why I have that number, we can adjust in April. Because can we still have. Again, 300,000 for the back. It hates use that comparison, but there's other areas we can save money. Try to get to some resolution of this. Communication services. So instead of having each department have their own separate budget for IT, email services, at River, their portions, it all comes to admin department. So that does include IT, it includes, at River, global relay. It looks like a large number, but when you get to it, per user, per license, per everything, again, you're only looking at, what was it? 12,206 over that. Now, understand too, is that 12,000, the majority of that increase is because you're looking at a CGIS audit. And that's $33,000, and that's in my budget. So, but for that, we'd be lower than what we just. So the CGIS, Criminal Justice Information System, is something that we need to do. And it can't be pushed on, and that's the number I got from all the chief. Newsletter mail out, again, we'll reevaluate that in the future. But the total increase, again, 150 was for the litigation fees. And the balance of that was mostly for communication services and salaries. But out of this, we're looking at about $965,000 for the admin.
Right, I think you remember the Spectrum News one, which is interesting to me.
That would be part of communications.
Okay, so, okay, but that's new, right? And is that to broadcast the town council meetings
It'd be,
with a separate station dedicated
it
station?
would be twofold. So get immediate information out there as soon as possible.
Okay.
Typically, people don't just keep their channel on
They know,
time in there, so have a rolling calendar.
okay,
But yes, the intent would be to live stream
yes.
board committee meetings and town council meetings.
Okay.
The problem with that is. You guys,
Line item for equipment,
the equipment would be an exorbitant amount. In order for us to do that, but at least we can get the price and see how much it's going to cost.
okay,
Well, we will start getting onto the Orange County calendar as well. I think it's called their cafe,
yes,
to where we start rolling in some of our, through Jennifer, start one use of our, events and projects,
Perfect, on their room school.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
But you will, you're gonna get an estimate on the equipment for the live streaming and the house meetings or anything, so. you get it.
we just received, I think, the estimate from Spectrum today, so I think that's on that.
Okay, that's great.
But again, that's a want,
Right, so I know,
yeah,
so
so,
you might get sponsored from that. I mean, I think everybody knows that.
yeah,
Be able to, well, older folks don't get on Instagram, Facebook, but we need that. I love that we're researching this.
yeah, all I'm doing with sponsoring, as long as it's sponsoring it for the long term. Because the first year might sound great, but guess what, I want the bag, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Well, once the equipment's bought and installed, that's half of it's spent, is fine. Yeah.
Things break down.
Yeah.
We can get 10 warranties.
Plus,
the other side.
Yeah.
they're running. It's continual expense.
All right, so for clerk, everything's pretty much status quo. People asked about the, professional services. That includes encryption. That holds our storage for our public records and instructions. So and then you can see that she's over a whopping $3,600. I know.
Oh, yeah.
We tried, what we know. Finance and salaries, that would be Teresa and Tara. The town fees and interest, that's 60,000, that is 200, or the 2 million loan we have out there right now. And you can tell in the revenue projection of like Dave, the 2 million is not reflected in there, it's revenue source that we cited. I'm trying to keep that as separate as possible. Health insurance, again, the increases. The fire restricted reserve. So we're gonna bring in 1.157 million to the assessments, but I have to put that money to the restricted reserve. And that will be used to offset the increased cost next year that we may, be putting in the load, which again, I still like.
Your Honor, we can go with other contractual services.
That is gone. Yeah, and the reason you see the increase, professional services, the audit, other contractual services. Just so you guys get a look at what we look at. I started this in 2013. I got here in 2011, 2012. So we see everything that we spent over all that time for each department. And then we start negotiating.
Robert, that's active funds, ADP, waypoints, voice assistance program.
Okay. I'm just gonna show them on the Excel so they can see how we get the method to our madness. So we print out everything that we spend in every department, whether it's pencils, paper, new computer, new car. You look at every expense, look at what the anomalies are. If there's an anomaly, we take it out. If, if there's a tractor that broke down, that's not gonna probably happen next year. Especially if we have 2 tractors, 1 new. But we look at every single expenditure and we make sure that whatever we're looking at, is gonna be something that we're looking at as far as, spending. You're looking at other contractual services? Is that it?
Yes.
Yeah, so you have the active fund, which is our accounting system, the employee assistance program. Is there anybody? Okay, so if somebody's having a hard time, we're able to provide that service to them. The admin fee for retirement, that was something we didn't budget for last year, that's the admin fee for them operating and maintaining our retirement accounts for Nationwide. Waypoint.
Waypoints is paid, that's our support. Then we have ADP payroll processing, which a lot of that is fraud prevention, which we are now required to do through surveillance.
So yeah, this is how we break it down, look at every single one of them. And then you total them up at the top. But as you can see, We use metrics that go back decade. You can see the increase in solid waste. Again, what was not included last year was shown below. What's included this year is shown below. In addition to that, with the CPI increases when it comes to gas, maintenance, and infill fees, that's why that increase is so huge. The majority of that is because of shown below, not part of this last assessment. Any questions on finance? I would say it's 145, this is 120. So you can see that we went through this with a fine tooth comb to make sure that we're spending money wisely, we're spending money well. Development services, that is wage run, and that is PDCS. So the building inspection fees, again, we have the 120. That's out around what we received this year, or actually, that's 80% of what we received this year. This 80-20 split. If we receive more, that's great. If we receive less, that's also fine because the split. Professional services, zoning and planning. So when we call,
Did you advance it, remember?
what's that?
Did you advance it? Still spending that.
Oh, they don't hear.
It's on Zoom.
Give me 1 second. We'll see.
The cursor is on the screen.
There you go. Hit P. Or enter. Yeah, you can go back and forward. Yeah, some of them.
Just keep rolling around.
Development services. So you see an admin fee and you see a professional services planning and zoning. The difference between those two is the professional services planning and zoning. Well, let me just not. I'm not gonna laugh, but I'm so the 130 is when developers, when people have applied for permits, that's their cost of 130. And not 100% of this is going to be reimbursed for people that are speculative. You know, hey, can I do this? Hey, can I do that? So we try to be very conscious about what they're asking, what they're asking for. If somebody came in and said, hey, I want to build a car skateboarding across the street, I'm not going to waste it. I'm not going to waste price. Well, 70,000 is our cost. So when you call Brad, it doesn't work for free. These are hourly costs. Same thing with legal. So, but it would cost me more to have our own planning staff than it would be for $70,000. So just be conscious of the fact that you call, it's very friendly. What I see from attorneys that you talk about. But the best thing is to just run everything through B, because if Tom has a question about a variance, I can ask Brad. Brad gives me the answer. So when Tony calls me, same question, I can answer him without holding you calling again, confirming his own. Same thing with legal fees as well. Same
Well,
page A.
That's a good point. I'm glad you do that. None of us should be calling without your contract statement. I mean, because you're right, that's a real high expense. Same for the lawyers as well. We should always be.
Right, they're very friendly. Like to talk. But every time you see somebody talking to them,
Six months.
Well, that's a good rule of thumb for all of us. I mean, our first stop is Robert, never call, but anyway. Let's shoot by it on.
Yeah, so if I get the answer, it's probably a question that other council members have.
That will
I can send it out to them. So that's probably the best way to do that. We only seeing a $20,000 increase. You know,
But before we get off that, so when people do file for a variance, so there is some recoup cost to this.
yeah,
Yeah, they're charged.
yeah, they're charged for this.
Yeah.
They pay an application fee and then the time, and then
Does that come
sometimes.
back our way, or
It's a
does that
revenue.
come back to our pot?
It's a revenue.
Yeah, it's the thing. Oh. got
Yes.
it. Sorry.
But understand, we don't.
It's a pass, it's a law.
It is a pass, it's a
Yeah.
pass,
Yeah.
it's a,
There you go. Okay.
it's
But
a
our
pass.
hard cost is 70K. Over that.
It's, yeah, so our cost is 70K, and typically it's over that as well. Because you have, again, people that are looking at, what can I do with the art? What can I do with this building? So we sit down and have meetings, and Brad makes sure that he keeps track of those. So if it does come to fruition, we're able to backfill those. If it doesn't, there's no active permit, you can't do that. So it's just the cost of doing business. Public Works. So we have on here, the debt service.
Sorry. Or my- Good.
We should talk as far as the debt service for town facilities, again, that's for town admin, PD. Salaries, you have that 3% increase. Overtime, we did reduce because we're not expecting a lot of overtime. So- One by one. All right, there we go. Professional services, that did go up. What professional services includes, and I'll show you. Probably easier to see this, so you guys can see that. So professional services is general engineering services. That includes IPS and Moore Associates, John Passaic. And Mike Laura, and some name.
Frank Chase.
No, Frank Chase is down here at project manager.
Okay.
And the only reason I put him 50 is because once these projects are over, I don't anticipate us doing any of the projects that are balancing. Now, with John, his is split between both general fund and solid waste, or
Stormwater.
with KHA, it is not assigned to a specific project. It's assigned to miscellaneous or a certain project that comes up. An example would be if we had a flooding issue on, and the reason for this is because of litigation that happened 15 years ago. But I don't have an engineer take a look at it, and give us a solution. We could look at another lawsuit, which I don't. So when everybody says, hey, my yard's flooding, and our guys will go out there and take a look, they may come up with some sort of solution, but I need somebody to validate that solution. Because if not, I'm looking at a nuisance and trespass, litigation. So it's more of a risk management. I'm gonna have a conversation, Tanya and I are gonna be looking over all the IPOs, and then even what looks like project leads. How many people do we actually? 283, just take a communicating term, how many people have 3 signs from. Because this, so we're already taking a look at those miscellaneous. They do go up to $15,000, and that's just to get us through the current projects that we're currently into right now. But with John, he's there every day with the guys. If an issue comes up, we use best judgment. But if there's something that is really looking like it's going to be an issue, then we definitely have to pay you. Lawn maintenance, 85,000. That is the
Down to earth. Down to earth.
Down there. Janitorial services, 30,000. That did go down because we're trying to limit the amount of deep cleans that we do here. Especially some of the ones that we want to come on, lakefront maintenance. Our pest control did go up because we're doing with other buildings, with termite inspections and HV. Lakefront maintenance did stay steady, and then with, project manager, that is one choice. So that's why it's 329,000. Street and road CIP. We have included the roundabout costs. And we've also, that's basically it. When you look at the 1.4 that we have left over, in contingency reserve, that money will be used to float us until we get the money back with reimbursements. So when you have that 1.4 that you're looking at, we're holding on to that. In addition to holding back some of the projects to make sure that our cash flow is still up.
1.4 is part of the $2 million fund.
No, the 1.4 is separate. So my revenues for this, my expenditures for this, I got a balance of $1.4 million that I did not have. So if, again, get into a situation with EdDog or somebody else, with projects that we have going right now, not reimbursed, I still have, in theory, that 1.4 that I'm holding on.
Have we spent the 2 million?
No, we still have 900,000 for 1.2.
Right now, we have 1.4 in the bank, which is the loan.
Yes, so we have 1.4 million.
But
That
it's
is
the
the loan,
loan,
but that is the loan.
that's the loan.
Yes,
Okay.
but with this, it gives us, in theory, because again, we'll start getting out of norm in November, December, January, February. 1.4, you contingency in case something.
So ladies,
Okay. And with that too, so that would,
without that loan,
that's what we asked for loan.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, we're still.
okay,
Again, I would not ask for a loan if I didn't think it was needed.
yeah.
You can tell it needs. But again, that 1.4, once we get reimbursements, it'll be more than that 1.4. Then we can start talking about repayments of the loan. We can start talking about other projects or making sure that our reserves get back to that 20% or 25% that we desperately need. So that's why we're holding off on a lot of these projects or some extensions.
Now, in terms of the loan, when are we supposed to start paying back?
We have to pay back in 5 years.
In 5 years?
Yes.
Does it start at a certain time? Is there a certain allotment, like come November, do we owe $50,000 to the loan?
No, we pay 60 a year.
Okay.
Or the availability of loans to money credit.
Okay.
We're paying back the loan. Once we get into that position, we can have a separate discussion, council. And pay quarterly or yearly. Because again, it's a group loan, so they have to redo everything every time you like make a monthly payment. So they'll pay like $500 each loan. But if we start paying big chunks. Quarterly, and yearly, then we can start paying that off in that 5-year term. Capital improvements, that's 300,000 for the, bathroom. The last price is less than 525, been those original estimate, but after we did design, engineering, architectural reviews, we should be at around that number. And then, of course, we included the multi-mode path payments, which is 1.148. Any questions on the books?
Right, go back to repair and maintenance, you got that down to 33,500. We're gonna be really careful with that, step further maintenance, and see how some of the town facilities, this building included, is dire need of some. Maintenance, and make sure they're cutting that too deep. So,
As you see here for repair and maintenance, that's the 80,000 for sidewalk repairs. That's why it's been reduced.
yes. So where is the repair and maintenance of facilities fall, for instance, this building, out home or schoolhouse? Where's the budget line?
That would be under miscellaneous facility repair and maintenance, and we increased that to $40,000.
Or actually, facility buildings, or no.
For slight repairs and maintenance. And again, it's based on the money that we've spent to this date, over the years. If something big happens, then yes, definitely we'll have to readjust that. But this is just keeping the lights on. I know there's a lot of repairs that we need to do, at this facility. HPD wants to focus on the Palmer and basically the second schoolhouse. If you look at raising the funds for those two items, right now, again, we're just focusing on and maintaining what we have right now. It's not gonna be pretty, but it's something that's necessary right now. Again, things say cash flow restricts and the uncertainty of money. Any other questions on public works? Police department. Again, everything's reflected is the 3% increase. If you have any questions about what differential is, again, it's between being paid at night and being paid in the day. FICA, retirement, health insurance. As you see here, that's where we have it reflected because police and fire are one of the same as far as public safety, so it's reflecting the $1.1 million, which is $225,000 increase in what we paid last fiscal year. And so the total is again going to come out to about 3.222, which is about $289,000 more than we paid last year. Remember, 225,000 of that is allocated towards the increase of quality. Any questions on police? Code enforcement. The code enforcement salary is included in the police department. So that's why you saw a reduction in code officer. So we pretty much maintain what we have in the last fiscal year. Committees, cost migration, we kept them the same. They could be out around that amount of money for what they get from one legs. And if they want to start another program, they can. Typically, what I do is I show 100,000 in, 100,000 out. And the reason I do that is to say, okay, make $100,000, spend $80,000, $20,000 goes into your bank or goes to your savings account. So we put that into the reserves and we have an allocation of what the reserves are. They can't tap into that reserve right now, and that's because of the cash generation. I did reduce HPD for the time being. Typically, they didn't take that much money out of food trucks, but it's in case they want to come up with another program in order to make that money and to help offset some of their expenditures. Basically, everything seems. Stormwater, you'll ask me is, what's the stormwater? We have allocated 4 employees in public works, and we have, just was a question for you.
I know, I asked you.
But there's also one to be allocated for storm. Because public works does work with stormwater and they work with public works. And this is just the way that things have been working is you always have one person in stormwater. And that person we have there is Kelly. So most of the stuff that we have reflected in here again is the 3% increase. For professional services, and that reflects the increase that we had, speaking with John, KHA, and also Lapin's in there as well. Stormwater Company, and rental leasing all the cars and equipment. So we're off in our projections from last fiscal year. So that's the difference from the system. That pays for, dump trucks, stuff like that.
And Robert, just as a correction, you call it Lapham because I think we used to use Lapham. We use Horizon Land Management now for storm drain clearing. Yeah.
So the increase again is only $9,300, but what we do is show an offset of that. To carry forward to general fund, the, $80,000 which goes towards HMGP grants and any stormwater associated projects that we have, West Second Avenue, Bessie, Butler. Actually use some of that for, some of that is. So that's why we carry that over. But when people say assessments, they think, okay, you make millions and millions of dollars of assessments. For the entire town of Windermere, we make $376,000 for student. We did a study a couple of years ago. It's insufficient, but it's not sufficient enough to justify a substantial increase at that time. I don't think at this time is the best time to ask for an increase in the census. So the council actions that we're asking is
Just a general question. So last time we negotiated on healthcare coverage. That reason I asked is my previous life, we did that. We're able to negotiate better health coverage at a lower cost. So how long has it been?
It's been at least 5 years. And what was happening for us is that we would go from X to Y to Z. And then people are having to change their primaries, all this other stuff. That's not to say that we can't go ahead and go back to the drawing board and negotiate. But as far as the overall cost, I don't think it would change because it's a matter of keeping your deductibles low, your out of pockets. I'm sorry, Tara was holding it for me.
You can send me quotes for different insurances every year that we review, and it's just so happened the one that we have has continually been the lowest option with the best quote.
And always send me our board with some of these things because it always changes. Doctors sometimes take Blue Cross Blue Shield. Next year they won't. Next year they'll be back. I've seen you. Is that the only questions for?
I've got just some cash flow comments.
Yes, sir.
To bring up. We talked about cash flow 3 or 4 times tonight. Anytime you send me some info on our HMGP grants that are outstanding, what we have in projects right now, plus the pet bridge. So between those 4 projects, there's West Second Avenue, Butler and Bessie, and pedestrian bridge. We have a total of grant reimbursement, so what we'll have laid out for all 4 of these projects. And expect for reimbursement for this $5.8 million. Okay. We received, and all these projects will be done by the intuition. We received 1.1 so far. We got out in process and waiting on bills coming at 1.6. Okay, that still leaves $3 million that we spent. That's laid out there that we can expect 6 months or more before it's going to be paid. So just everybody keep talking about this cash flow and why everything's so tight. We've got, $6 million, that's half our budget that we've laid out over the last year and a half on these projects that we're waiting on repayment. So this is time for us all to take a vote. And if we don't have to have it, we shouldn't do it. That's all I got from you.
Thank you, sir. So the council actions we're asking for, I'm gonna go one by one. If it's happening, you want to use one by one as well. Council action number 1 would be to tentatively adopt Proposed millage rate of 3.7425 mils per thousand. Again, that is the tax increase, which is not going to the rollback rate, we're keeping the village exactly the same. So I need a motion to.
All right. The main motion to tentatively adopt proposed millage rate of 3.7425 mils per thousand. Go ahead, motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilperson Davis, second by Councilperson Allen. Vote beginning with Councilperson Davis.
I,
Aye.
So moved.
The second council action would ask for is a motion to consent to a balanced proposed budget. Revenues $12,464,394 dollars and 17 cents. Expenditures $12,464 or $464,394 and 17 cents. So we ask for a motion for that.
Do I need to repeat or can we just go straight? Do I have a motion, please?
so moved. I'm not gonna say.
Councilperson Dan, David, Councilperson Davis. Hey. Vote begin with Councilperson Allen.
Aye.
I,
So moved.
The next item, we need a motion to set the date, time, and place of budget hearings. Sometimes it's just be announced, but just to be safe, I would like a motion, I can name the motion at the September 3rd, 2026, 6 P M. Be the tentative budget hearing, Town Hall, 520 Main Street, Windermere, Florida, 34786. And it's on September 16th, 2026, 6 P M. Final budget hearing, Town Hall, 520 Main Street, Windermere, Florida, 34786.
Do I have a motion? So. Councilperson Davis.
You guys are waiting over there.
A second.
I,
Councilperson Davis, same vote begin with Councilperson Davis.
Aye.
Next action, we would need a motion to approve the solid waste assessment at $518,120.18. Whose turn is it?
Alan, come on.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Vote begin with Councilperson Davis.
I,
Aye.
I see you back there specifically, made him say all these numbers.
You're rolling around the lump. So.
All right, the next motion we need would be a motion to approve stormwater fund assessment roll at $376,525.18.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Second.
Councilperson Davis and Down. And then vote begin with Councilperson Allen.
Aye.
I,
So moved.
All right, next motion from council would be a motion to approve fire assessment of $1 million, $157,264, or $624.45.
So moved.
It was coming out of my mouth. I did say.
Vote begin with Councilperson Allen.
Aye.
I,
So moved.
And the next one, which is reimbursable because it is an MST that is set by the county before meetings, and then would be the Willows. You would need a motion to approve the Willows streetlight assessment at $17,861.76.
So moved.
Second.
Vote begin with Councilperson Davis.
I,
Aye.
Thank you.
And that's all I have for the budget presentation. If there's any additional questions, or if there's a need, or not a need, we can go ahead and cancel the next, budget session, which would be the workshop, which I think is planned for August 3rd.
Yes.
Yes, so, is there a need for one, or are we satisfied with the budget that's been presented?
We'll come back with it.
Great.
Okay, just
So again, we can discuss additional items at the September, 3rd and 16th, the only thing they can't change is the military. Thank you.
Good job, Mike.
I'm losing my voice, so let's get some more.
all right, so. And We're gonna go ahead and call this, it's, 7/24.
Great, so it's a difference in improvement, yeah.
Yeah.
We tell you. That's not- sorry.